All right, I'm going to have Kevin do the demonstration. That way I can use the microphone because I can't do both at one time. But first off, I want to thank Bryony Smith for letting me use her PowerPoint. I didn't think there'd be no sense in reinventing the wheel here. This is a real good PowerPoint, but I want to make sure she gets the credit for it. I guess we go to the right button or we go to the bottom. There we go. First off, we're going to start with the body. Body's worth 17 points. Why are we starting with the body? Well, it is the most important part of the Dutch rabbit. Everybody thinks, well, it's the markings, you know. But really, the body has more points in the standard than anything else. 17 points with that body. So that's real important. We want to stress that a lot. Okay, I guess I got to press harder. Head near. Head near is worth 7 points. The head is worth 5. The ears are worth 2. You want a good head near to full head and set closely to those shoulders. The ears should be well furred and of good substance. And it does, the correct head and ear properly displays those markings on that head, which is the blaze and the cheeks. Bone is real important, probably the most important 2 points of the standard in my opinion. To check the bone, we always look at the hock. We look at that back foot. We want a hock that's short, and we want one that's good width. It should be medium bone, but without that bone, the stops just don't look right. Usually the stop or that hock is around 3 inches, 3.5 inches long. Longer than that, it would be a long bone. So we want the bone to be short. We want it to have good width. And the good way to check that is the hock. Usually, like other presentations were saying, if it's got good bone and it's got good, it also usually has good substance to those ears as well. So the correct bone really displays that stop marking. 1/3 of the foot should be white. So it really does, it's going to change per rabbit. So if you have a 3.5 inch hock, the white should be 1.25 inches. A 3-inch hock, the white should be 1 inch. So you want those to be crisp and clean. We don't pay a whole lot of attention. Okay, huh? You want to talk?
I'll jump on it here.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Some props. We hear quite a bit, all the stops are too short. Do you know how long 1 inch is? That's longer than 1 inch right there. So if you have, I did an experiment on my animals, measured 20 random seniors. I said, okay, how long is that foot? It ranged from 3 inches to 3 3/4. There's one foot that's 3 3/4. There's one that's 3. That's how long a stop should be. That's 1 inch. Okay, on a 3-inch foot. Could go up to 1 1/4 inches. But if you start looking down on these, and I'll pass them around too, that's not a very long bit of weight on there. But we hear a lot of times, well, these stops are kind of short. I know they aren't kind of, that's what they're supposed to be, is kind of short. So that's what we're pushing for. 1 inch, 1.25 inches is all your stops are going to be, but it's not very long. Again, segment of my finger is a little bit more than 1 inch. So we're looking for shortness, and then bodies and everything else. Dutch is a short breed, supposed to be a short breed. So if anybody wants to look at these, we've got them here.
Thank you, Kevin. The type is a canvas for the markings. When you got good type, it makes those markings look correct. All the markings have descriptions according to their shape and reference points according to the part of the anatomy they're from. No marking is worth more than type. There we are. We might want to stress that. Again, how important type is. Cheeks have the most points for the markings, and they're worth 12 points, where body type is, again, 17. And again, you have to have something behind that head. You might have a really good head and ear, and it might display those cheeks and blaze really well, but you want to have a good body type behind that head to complete that Dutch look. Fur on Dutch, we want it to be crisp, clean, slick, and I would add one more thing, short. You want that fur to be relatively short. If you have those long guard hairs, which you see up here, it tends to have feathering, and it makes that saddle marking uneven or wavy. Where the shorter guard hairs on the right is much more cleaner, crisper look. It is a flyback coat. Fur is worth 10 points, and there we're talking about those guard hairs. You want those guard hairs to be short. So you want good short fur. And the markings on the Dutch, we'll go into those real quick. You want the evaluation of those markings is everything. So the undercut and saddle, the best way, well, first we'll go through the points. The saddle is worth 10 points. It's placed closely behind the shoulders. Some of the faults would be too far forward, too far back, ragged, or biased. The undercut, worth 8 points. It's a continuation of the saddle. It's also right behind the forelegs. It can be too far back, too far forward. Dips or drags would be some of the faults for the undercut. When evaluating the saddle, you pose the rabbit. You take your hand off the rabbit and you step back. Don't be poking or pulling or anything like that. Just evaluate the saddle from a distance. You can see this rabbit has fairly short fur. It does have kind of crisp, clean saddle marking. It is pretty much straight up and down as well. I like that marking. I still like her head quite as well as some of the other Dutch. Easy to evaluate the saddle if you take your hand off the rabbit and just step back and look at it. When evaluating the undercut, you want to keep that rabbit tucked in a tucked position. You don't want to stretch it out. It exaggerates the marking. So when you evaluate it, give it all the credit it has. Keep it in that tucked position. It's actually the same position as when it's posed on the table. You just pull it up and look at it in that position, and that's how you evaluate the undercut. This is where you see a lot of differences in judging the way the markings are evaluated. Some you get different opinions because they're not all done the same way. So we try to stress that, keep that rabbit in that posed position just like when you're looking at the saddle, look at the undercut the same way. Don't be trying to do two of them at one time and do a comparison, because you're not doing either one of these rabbits justice. It's just not a respectful way to handle the rabbits. So that's a no-no. To checking for a tied elbow. If a tied elbow is a disqualification, it's when the color runs up on the elbow. Again, you want to hold that rabbit's paw up there close to the eye. Because that's where that rabbit's going to be in that posed position. You put your thumb on that elbow. If there's color above the elbow, it's a disqualification. If it's all white, you would just fault the rabbit. Blaze, cheeks, and neck. The blaze is worth 5 points. You want it to be even, medium width, and wedge-shaped. Some faults for that would be narrow, wide, uneven, or ragged. The cheeks, cheeks are worth 12 points. It's a continuation of the blaze. You want them to be as round as possible. They go to the whisker bed, but not into the whisker bed. And you want them to stay even with the jawline and not go below the jawline. Low cheeks, high cheeks, uneven cheeks, hooked and squared are some of the faults you see. The neck marking is right behind the ear. It's also a continuation of the blaze and the cheek marking. So all those markings would form a circle around each side of the rabbit's eye.
Don't do this to look at the neck.
Yeah, don't do that. We're going to show, the next slide shows the proper way to display the neck marking. Again, the neck marking, it can be associated with a hairline. The hairline would connect the blaze to the neck marking, would be a thin layer. Yeah, some rabbits have it. Don't fault it if it does not have this, but it is desirable. Sometimes that hairline is associated with a wide blaze or high cheeks. But that neck marking could be dirty, ragged, or full if it's some of the faults. If it's full, that means it's almost missing. There's just like a straight line across the back, and it would not be allotted the three points. The way to evaluate the cheeks in the blaze is gently with a light hand on the head near, and pick that rabbit up and evaluate by looking at the cheeks and the blaze. You don't want to keep your hand underneath the jawline at this point. Dutch are used to being flipped over all the time. The breeders flip them over every day. They take them out of the cage. They're looking at the undercut, they're looking at the stops. So Dutch are used to being flipped over. So you can actually let go of those ears. Really don't even have to hardly hang on to that rabbit, support that weight that in the lower hindquarters with the other hand, and evaluate those cheeks without them being distorted by your hand around their head or underneath their jawline. Evaluating the neck, I think Kevin already demonstrated that. You just hold the ears up, look down at that neck, looking for that wedge shape. You see a lot of judges, they'll pull those ears apart, or they'll really pull them forward. Yeah, that's going to distort that marking. So you just pull those ears vertical and take a look and see what you got. You're looking for that wedge-shaped marking behind there. The stops are worth 10 points. It's like we said before, it's 1/3 of the foot. You can separate the toes if you need to look for a split stop, which is a disqualification. You're looking for the placement of these stops, and you're looking for how even they are and how straight they are. And some of the marking faults on stops would be too long, too short, ragged, uneven, or biased. I suppose one of my pet peeves is long stops. I like short stops, or I like stops where they're supposed to be. But one thing, what's that? Oh. But
basically all you have to do is turn just like that.
yeah, there's a good example. I don't know, the slide does showing you holding the stops together to see the evenness. I really don't think you need to do that. I think you can look at it. You can squeeze just a little bit on the hindquarters. It separates the legs or kind of kicks the legs out a little bit. I wouldn't spend a lot of time looking at the foot underneath. I mean, here we're looking at the stops on top. That's what you see when the rabbit's in post position. That fur is distorted under the pad or on the hock, the bottom of the foot. You want to check it, but really, and that does have really good stops. But you want to really make sure the top part of that foot and the sides is what you're looking at the most. Color. Dutch color, the finer points. We have 10 points on color, and we do have 9 varieties now. Chin is one of the newer ones, and then the last 2 newest ones is lilac and golden yellow. And we do disqualify for frosting, silvering, or ticking on lilacs. So there is a problem out there. We've seen that in the last presentation in the Havanas, where you do have that ticking or that frosting on lilacs. But in Dutch, you can disqualify for that. Chins, blue-gray eyes are allowed, but we prefer brown eyes. The agoutis are chinchilla and grays. The grays have 5 intermediate bands, or 5 bands, and the intermediate band is tan. Steels, we have a black tip or black steels with the white or cream ticking, and then the torts are black torts with a clean surface color and kind of a smoky blue shading. Here, golden yellows, one of the newer varieties. They can be disqualified for extreme ear lacing or ticking or pale yellowish color, and they also can be disqualified when you can't plainly see the undercut or the color on the stops. So if you can't see that, here's a good picture of the one far on the left there is what you're looking for that belly color on the undercut on a golden yellow. The one in the center, you would fault that rabbit for fading there in that undercut, and the one on the right would be a disqualification because you really can't see it very well. At least I can't. Any questions on them golden yellows? Low rufous on our grays. That intermediate band is tan. And here's a good picture of the ring color on our grays. And you have to have that ring color over the back, We have gold tip steels, not silver. We need off-white or cream ticking. This is a good example. You want that evenness of that ticking all over the body. This steel here shows good color. Our torts, we want a clean top coat. On the top there, that first one there lacks a little bit of shading, and the second one there has well-placed shading, but it's just a little smutty over the top. So you kind of would want something in between those two, but we see a lot of torts like that, like we see on the right. I like the color, like I said, on the left one, as far as the color on the top, really bright and clean, but it does lack a little bit of shading, especially down on those lower hips. Special considerations when judging, how to become good fans for your Dutch breeders. Some common disqualifications are eye spots and off-colored eyes. Flesh spots, or I call them freckles in the mouth or nose. No matter how they happen, sometimes injury can occur and a scar would turn into a flesh spot or a freckle, but that would still be a disqualification. White spots could be anywhere, but they're a disqualification as well. A lot of them are on the belly of Dutch, but they can be on the ears as well. And then the tweeners, we got a lot of breeders call them tweeners, but they're not really a steel and they're not really a gray. They're kind of in between. Grays have to have ring color up over the back, and steels, if steels do have ring color on the sides, they would be disqualified for having that. So you do get some tweeners in there where the color is just not quite right for either standard. Table management, Dutch can be aggressive towards each other, not so much towards the judge, but towards each other, especially bucks. So handle one at a time. Use solid dividers when you can. And if they do get bit or something like we said, they do form flesh spots or freckles, and it usually ends a show career. So when handling Dutch, especially bucks, do them one at a time. If you do have two of them out, make sure you have your hands on the other one at all times. Again, if there's not enough room, send them back with the exhibitor, the variety winners back, and bring them up at the end when judging best of breed, or alternate the holes here as it shows in this picture, so the rabbits can't get to one another. If you don't have a solid divider or a double wire there. All right, any questions? I want to thank Kevin for handling those rabbits for me. Yes. Grizzling. Grizzling, usually when you mention that, I think on the ear. I think on the edges of the ear would be, it could be grizzling or white spots or just a little bit lighter color, maybe, especially for on the blacks and torts. It's a judgment call.
I use the term grizzling because that's what Doc Reed used way back when. And you can think of gristle in meat, that's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah.
Basically just poor coloring along the edge of the ears, and if it's intense enough to form a spot, it's a spot.
Usually don't see it on grays though, do you? No, it's all in self colors mainly, yeah. Any other questions? Split stop is when the color goes between the toes and connects with the color underneath. So you have to see color. It could even be the undercolor. Sometimes, like on a chin or a gray, you may look kind of white on the surface, but then if you get that, if you look at real closely, you'll see there's a dark undercolor, and that would still be any color at all. It has to be white. It has to be a white break somewhere in that between those toes. It's not a split stop. Yep. It has to connect. It has to connect with color underneath, between.
How far are you digging to see that?
Oh, you can dig as much as you want to, I think, for a split stop. You can pull those toes apart. You can blow on it, Yeah, just to determine. And you know, sometimes you'll see that little bit of a run on the top, and then that's when you want to check that. You want to check that. You can sometimes just flip them over, and you can see, well, there's no way, it's got to be. But sometimes you have to separate the toes it can be that close.
It's usually the outside toe or the inside toe.
Yeah, that's true too.
The way to check that is simply get a little bit of fur,
Yeah.
hold, you can look, you can see them either way. And if it doesn't connect,
Yeah, I've never hardly ever seen the middle toe or middle toes. It's always one or on the inside or outside toe would be split.
toe, you got bigger problems.
Yeah, then the whole foot is probably split. Every toe's split if you have that. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.